Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer Podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mark Goldhart. Mark, what's up?
What's up?
When I say co-host,
Yeah.
does that mean, am I saying that right? Or are we just both the hosts? Or are we both co-hosts? Because I feel like there's a host and then there's a co-host. But we're both just the hosts of this, right?
Yeah, it seems as though maybe you could say either one, but maybe the co is polite
Okay.
in recognizing acknowledging that there's another.
Right. So if you were doing the introduction, you'd say my co-host Trevor.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's how I've always assumed it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you could go out and I think you could say, I am a host
Yeah.
of a podcast.
Got
I
it.
host a podcast,
Yeah.
right? But maybe the polite thing to say
That's
is,
inferring that there's only one.
yes, I think it's more, you could say it because you are a host. You
Sure.
are a host.
Sure.
But by saying I co-host,
Yeah.
maybe that.
It's like saying I'm the founder of this business
Yeah.
when you and I are the founders of the business.
Yes.
So you should say, hey, we're co-founders.
Or maybe you can say like I have founded businesses. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's all semantic.
Okay.
Maybe it's like if somebody asks you if you have kids, but you don't ever acknowledge your wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I have kids.
I have kids.
Instead of, yeah, we got kids.
Yeah. I have a child. I mean, I do. I have children.
Right.
But maybe if I don't say anything about my wife, it's a little.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you can say it, but I think, and for the record, I don't think either of us really care. But it's,
No.
I think semantically speaking, yeah, like you just maybe it's more of a courteous thing to do.
Respect.
Co-host.
Yeah.
I co-host.
The lovely co-host, Mark Goldhart. How are you, dude? Day before Thanksgiving is when this is recording.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I'm yawning right now.
You did yawn right when you said you're tired, so it was
Yes.
very authentic.
I'm very tired, but I'm doing.
Are you tired
I'm doing well.
because work is busy, or are you tired because your children aren't sleeping? Or both?
Both.
Okay.
My kids are sleeping okay though.
Yeah.
They're not too bad. But we do have one child who's waking up with nightmares. And he's also sleep talking a little bit right now. He kind of will scream and then just go back to sleep.
Yikes.
So, but he's fun. He has some pretty fun dreams that he likes to tell us about.
I got a kid who is like super detailed with his dreams too. Like he can be like, just could be very, very detailed about something. Like how do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember like any dreams.
Yeah, you say you don't dream, right? Like
I mean,
you dream.
I'm sure I do, but yes,
you
I don't
don't.
remember.
I remember all my dreams. I mean, that I don't remember them vividly, but like I'm like,
But
okay,
when you
last
wake
night
up in the morning, you remember that you had a dream about.
Oh yeah, I was dreaming
something.
about this.
Yeah.
It's always very like a very small amount that I can remember.
But you can remember.
Oh yeah, yeah, without fail. Like
Yeah,
I'm the exact opposite. I never not remember something.
I would say I remember what I was dreaming about in the morning. Yeah, about maybe 5-6 times a year.
Interesting. Does that make you sad?
No. Only because when I was a kid, I learned how to control my dreams. So maybe it'd be fun to go back and have more dreams that I could control.
That's called something. What's that called?
Awesome, probably.
Awesome.
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. There we go.
Yeah, because I used to have nightmares, and then I learned that you could control the nightmare. Once you recognized it was a nightmare, then you could keep yourself in a dreamlike state and then change the dream.
Yeah, I think I've done that before. Like that's happened to me before, but I never knew how to do that.
Yeah,
like I never.
Is it common? Do a lot of people do that?
I actually did it last week.
I assume a lot of people do, right?
It's pretty rare.
Lucid dreaming.
Yeah. Well, speaking of nightmares, did you hear that there was a gentleman who ordered 4 iPhone, is it 15s that we're at right now?
Yeah, 15s, 15 Pros.
Yep, he ordered 4 iPhone 15 Pro 1 terabytes. So the most expensive iPhone you can pretty much get right now. And Apple,
unless it was a Max, then that'd be more expensive.
Maybe it was a Pro Max. Like it was the most expensive iPhone. That's what I read. He ordered 4 of them, and they sent him 3 boxfuls, which I think ended up being like 100.
100 iPhone Maxes.
They mistakenly sent him.
Wow.
100 of them.
Someone got fired.
It was like $107,000 worth of
Apple, like Apple directly, or was this T-Mobile?
Apple directly.
Or was this?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Seems so weird.
Yeah. So the backstory. So he orders it. I believe is it the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, right? They regulate ads and whatever, like how you market media, rules, all that kind of fun stuff. Under the FTC, you do not have to. This is just legal advice for any of you guys. You do not have to give back. You are not required to send back anything a brand sends you by mistake.
Sweet.
So there you go. Free advice. That's why you should listen to the podcast. Oh, so he's got $100,000 worth of inventory, but apparently he had read that on Apple's website, they have the power to kind of like never let you shop on their store, in their store again, and buy something from them. So I believe we should have brushed up a little bit more on this. I believe that he sent everything back, and I don't know if Apple rewarded him for it or whatever, but he sent it all back because he was so worried about like him not being able to shop at Apple. So this morning, as I was thinking about this story, the question popped in my head. I am an Apple user through and through with pretty much everything. Like we have Alexas in our house, which isn't quite, I shouldn't say it isn't quite Apple. It isn't Apple.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like all of our computers, we got Apple TVs, we got iPhones, iPads, like we are an Apple home.
Okay.
So the question I have for you is, would you take $100,000 but risk becoming an Android and a PC user for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's not even a question.
You'd risk being
a free $100,000? Yes.
You'd risk being the guy who makes your group chat green and everything breaking and people hating you.
Of course, yes. Who cares? Yeah. $100,000 is a lot of money.
And it is a risk, right? It's not a guarantee, right? It's just a risk.
Even if it was a guarantee, yes.
Okay, so even if it was a guarantee, I would I think I would too.
If it was a guarantee I could never use an Apple product the rest of my life, I would still say yes, because what you can do with $100,000 right now is going to be worth far more than whatever little advantage Apple gives you.
Well, what advantage does Apple give you?
Well, it's seamless. It works. I mean, it's consistent. It's a good experience. So like once you're used to it, I think you technically are maybe could be more productive.
More efficient, potentially.
Using it. But
yeah, I think that's
yeah, I mean, because $100,000, man, like you could go put that down on a duplex or property or something. And
yeah,
that's going to be worth a lot more in 30 years then.
Yeah. But what a nightmare, huh? Probably
for Apple.
Probably just somebody, yes. Probably just like some, like I mean, you've picked and packed and done warehouse stuff before, right? I mean, you're just moving so quick. Like, I remember we were putting out.
Yeah, you're moving quick, but there's a big difference between 4 iPhones and 4 packets.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're talking. Yeah.
That's impossible.
Yeah. You're talking like, ordering 1 and getting 3. That's not crazy.
Still crazy, but yeah,
still crazy.
Not as crazy as ordering 4 and getting over 100.
25x what you ordered.
I would love that.
Oh,
I have an update on the story.
let's hear it.
So they sent him 60, but still about $100,000
Okay, I was
worth.
$100,000. I was right. Okay.
And Apple reached out to him and they offered to refund him for like
His
his
order.
money that he paid, and he agreed to send everything else back.
So
That's
$4,000, or probably a little more than that, you know, because those are probably like $1,500 each.
Yeah.
So what? $6,000? Is that worth it?
No.
No.
You'd still take the $100,000. You'd still give him the double bird, and say, "This is my $100,000. I'm selling all these right now."
Yes.
All right. What about obviously there's no legal obligation, right?
Look, morally speaking,
Yeah.
if it was a business that isn't the most wealthy, profitable business in the world,
That also is not notorious for their morals either.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, then maybe,
Right.
but it's Apple. I mean, come on,
Yeah, $100,000 to Apple is
it's nothing.
probably $2 for us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't bat an eye if we lost.
I mean, maybe my
$2.
mom would be a little ashamed of me for saying that, because my mom would for sure send them back,
Yeah,
but
but you wouldn't.
I don't think I would. No, I'd just be like,
What would your wife have you do?
she would try to get me to send them back.
And so this is an even bigger question, right? For you people who have
She would
spouses.
try, and I would say no.
You would still okay. So what kind of rift would that put a rift between you and your wife for her being like, "You're not the type of person I thought I hoped you were."
No, she knows I would say this.
She okay.
Yeah. She knows very, very well that I would say no. We're going to keep that.
I can maybe convince Ken's and say, "Listen,
Like, my wife is the kind of person that feels bad for not paying enough taxes.
that's."
Like, if you can write something off as
She's
a
like,
tax
"Are you
break,
sure we should do that?"
Is that honest? It's like, it's not about being honest. It's like, it's right there. You can write
It's
it
just
off.
legal. It's just legal stuff.
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can write off like what you spend. What is it? Your interest payments on your mortgage, for example.
Yeah.
It's like, is that honest? Like, yes. Of course it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it
yeah,
is.
my wife would absolutely want me to send them all back. She would have a hard time with that one.
Ken's would probably be. She'd probably want me to send it back too, but also at the same time,
Until she saw $100,000.
Yeah.
It's like, we just won $100,000 lottery.
Yeah, here's $10,000. You go shop at any place you want. Are you okay with us keeping that money now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Unfortunately, I would not let that be shopping money.
You're so controlling, dude.
I know. Well, she wouldn't either, actually. It would be like, okay, let's
guys
go.
use it.
Let's go get a house or something. But for sure, it'd probably go into real estate.
Yeah. Pay for a portion of what that real estate would be worth, you know?
And then, you know what? I'd learn to love Android. And, you know, Apple has lost a little bit of its luster. It's not quite what it used to be.
Yeah. Since SJ's gone?
Yeah, I think they've plateaued in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Now
I agree.
I think the M1 chips are like their first big jump where they're making their own hardware and they're kind of producing some cool stuff. But if you really think about it, is the iPhone, does it make you feel any certain kind of way like it used to? It's just kind of novel and whatever now.
I do still feel what's the word? What is the opposite word for inferior?
Superior.
Superior. The word that was coming to me was furier. I do feel superior.
Superior.
Yeah, when I have an iPhone and somebody has an Android, I feel superior to them.
Well,
so sorry guys. That's just the truth.
Everyone does.
And every Apple person would say the same thing. Well, they wouldn't say the same thing because they wouldn't be man enough to admit it, but they're all nodding
They
their
all
heads.
feel
so like,
it.
yeah. Thanks,
They all
Trev.
feel a little better.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why everyone buys something. It's to feel better about themselves in some kind of way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. It's either a status signal or a virtue signal or a basic need.
Solves a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a want.
Speaking of other current events and things, to shift gears here, you've heard of this. You've heard of the comedian Matt Rife, yeah?
Yeah. He's like that pretty boy, handsome guy.
He's a handsome guy,
but he's really funny, right? He riffs with audience a
yes,
lot.
He's
has a lot
known,
of clips.
He's known for his good looks.
Okay.
From the ladies. The ladies think he's very handsome.
Right.
And he is known for his crowd work. So he I don't think a lot of people say, and I don't watch him enough for me to have like a real formal opinion about this, but a lot of people say like his actual comedian routine isn't that amazing. It's when he breaks out of the script and does his crowd work. Like that's what they say he's just like one of the best at it. And because he's got good looks and because he's like really flirty, like he's really flirtatious and he gets like a little edgy, dirty with his jokes, these just women go nuts for him.
They swoon.
Yeah. And the other thing I think I've heard,
some may say,
another reason why like women like really, really like him is because he talks.
Because he's handsome.
Yeah, he's handsome, but he also is very like not a player kind of guy. Like he's not all about getting with all these ladies. It's about finding one person and wanting to date somebody. So he says. So I think that also makes him a little bit more desirable.
He's a little hard to get.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, this is where I want to bring.
So he leads them on and then gives them a cold shoulder.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, the ladies can't resist a cold shoulder from a handsome guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is.
Unless they're lesbian, but.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hot take. Yeah, we could see.
That's not a hot take.
That's just true, I guess.
That'd just be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so anyways, the how I want this to tie into our discussion, where I want this discussion to lead is he's so popular, and it's almost like overnight success. Like if I recall, like a year and a half ago, this guy wasn't even making $100,000.
Wow.
And now he's making millions and millions of dollars. Like he'd been doing this for like 10 years.
Okay.
With zero traction. And then all of a sudden he just, so it's like 10, it's like that 10-year overnight success kind of story, right? And
which is really the story of almost all famous comedians, but
and all overnight successes,
yeah.
Right? So anyways, he gets a Netflix show, and this guy is at the peak of his career, and he makes his Netflix show, he comes like right out the gate and says some really like off-color jokes about domestic violence, and it rubs a lot of women the wrong way. And he's not like immune to saying jokes that can rub people the wrong way, but the problem is he comes out, I think, and tells pretty much tells like the audience, like, hey, these women, this isn't for you. Like this Netflix special is for men. Pretty much trying to say like, he's trying to go like away, not necessarily away from women, but he's trying to say, I want men to be my audience.
Did he say that?
So he's kind of like giving
we're going to have our fact
these
checker.
women the cold shoulder. So
he said, this is not for you.
Yeah, I don't know if he came out and said, this is not for you exactly, but I think he said that like it's been said, and a lot of people are saying that this Netflix series is, we got our fact checker here, meant more for men.
I guess this is a quote. I would argue this special is way more for guys.
Ooh.
So he's been going after these women. Women are the ones who are in his audience, and then all of a sudden the Netflix shows and it flips on the switch and script. No, let's make this for men.
Okay.
So what I want to
So is
do.
Matt Rife feeling a little insecure about his audience?
I mean, you have a 10-year overnight success. Your audience are women,
Yeah.
and they're not just single women, married women. They're just women.
Okay.
And then you say, nope, I want to flip the script and go for bed.
Probably not a great idea.
Yeah, so that's where I want to bring the conversation is
Maybe.
how often do we see because Matt Rife is a business, right? He
Yes.
is a brand. How often do you see brands either trying to change who their audience is, number one, or introduce a product that doesn't belong to that audience?
Well, you see it often. You see it really often, especially when brands break 7 figures, hit 8 figures, and then they want to try to take the next step, right? They start making things a little more complicated to get there. They start thinking they have to do all these things different, right? But my mind's really going to more artists because it's so obvious in art, especially music. You have bands that have their first 3-4 albums, then they're phenomenal. And then they get away from it, and then everyone just kind of, they're not very good anymore.
Because they try to go a little more mainstream.
Whatever it is, yeah. I mean, no offense to Mumford and Son fans, if there's still any left out there. Does anybody, I mean, do they exist anymore? Are you a fan?
They don't exist anymore.
Don't lie.
They're all extinct.
They have to be. Their new albums are horrible.
I would disagree. I like them.
Old Talmadge has horrible musical.
That's true.
I actually don't know much about Mumford & Sons, so I'm not a good
Well, their
person.
first 2 albums were great, and then they decided to not be a folk band anymore. Like now they're just like a regular alternative rock band.
Well, listen though, there's an argument to be made though. There's a flip side because Taylor Swift was country.
Okay.
And then she went mainstream. And now
Mainstream with country roots. At the beginning.
I'm sorry, no.
Would you even consider, was she really country at the beginning?
I think so. That was like how she got it started, was like country in the very beginning.
I mean, I'm just assuming here because again, I don't really know any of her music.
You have openly admitted on this podcast that you've never really listened to any Taylor Swift song.
No, so she's not country at all.
So you have to.
So she's like pure pop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now she is who she is.
No, well,
Yeah.
Well, this is a good discussion because Taylor Swift, okay. Going back to Matt Rife. So his audience was women.
Yes.
And he decided to say,
let's go to the fellas.
Yo, I'm for the dudes now.
Yeah.
And I guess it's unforeseen how it's going to play out.
True. Yes.
But I imagine dudes are not into him as much as women are.
I think you're right. However, I've seen some of his videos and I've laughed at them. Like, I think they're funny.
Sure, but he was a commodity, and now, like, if you're just a dude comedian, that's pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think he's all of a sudden going to be better than...
And look, I don't think comedians are for dudes or for women. I mean, it varies, but he was a commodity because I don't think there was anyone like him doing that, and obviously he attracted a very strong audience, right? Yeah. But now, if you're just trying to be because there's a lot of guys doing that. There's tons of them, right? You got that Tom Segura. You've got who's maybe playing to more dads at this point and parents, but I think probably more dudes go like Tom Segura on a regular basis. I don't think a ton of women are necessarily listening to him.
Sure.
And what's that other guy like Bert, the alcoholic? I don't know.
I know who you're I know Tom. I know the Segura guy. I don't know.
Maybe you got like Bert. Joe Rogan. I mean, you just got tons of those comedians that I think a lot of guys gravitate to. So it just seems weird that he Like, why would you not embrace that that's what you are?
Yeah.
But so he alienated his audience. So Taylor Swift, on the other hand, her audience has and always will primarily be,
Women.
well, I would say they turn into women, but it's younger women and girls, right? Because she sings about the things that teenage girls and
Go through.
young women entering in their 20s go through.
Sure.
And then you have that nostalgic effect where it just like goes on forever. So she never abandoned her audience. She just changed the delivery.
Yeah.
Which still is hard to do. That's still hard to do because we'll talk about business ideas that you think are the same audience, but it's just not.
Right.
So again, that goes to her being a genius because she was able to migrate into a different genre. And I don't know, was that a slow play? Was that a quick? She was country one day and pop the next?
I think it was probably like a pretty, like, I don't think it was like overnight. All of a sudden she was pop.
But the delivery and the message, did it change? So the delivery changed, did the message change?
I don't think so. I think you're right about that.
So the message was the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Breakups.
Yeah, just a little less twang.
Heartache. Okay. So here's the theme, right? Like the message never changed, although the product did change a little bit. The delivery of the product changed, but there's an argument to say that her main product never changed, right? Because it's still the same message. Where if you go over to brands that try to go into a different product, oftentimes the biggest mistake they make is they lose sight of who their audience is and what message is resonating with that audience. They just think you can throw another product at them.
Yes. And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Couple things like I can think of. You see with clothing brands, notorious for clothing brands, right? They enter into this space as a menswear or as a women's wear clothing company. And they crush it. Right. They absolutely crush it. Like a good example, and this isn't me knocking on these guys because I actually love the founder and like I think he's really awesome and I like the brand a lot. I don't use the product a ton, but Cuts clothing, right? Cuts men, like they had a men's line, they owned the men's line. Their whole message was you're going to work and you don't want to have to wear a collared shirt and a button-up shirt and slacks or whatever. Like we're going to create casual menswear that you can wear to work essentially.
Yeah.
And wear out on the town and be able to wear to the gym. Like they wanted to like own that whole space. And then I think it was last year they launched their women's line. After being in business for probably.
And how does their women's line do?
I mean, I follow him a lot. And I know people who work with that brand.
Okay.
And I don't hear them talking at all about it. It's not that I'm hearing them say, oh, this is crushing it, or oh, this is terrible. I don't hear that at all. You don't hear
anything about it.
I don't hear anything about it.
Well, Lululemon, they were able to branch into men's decently.
They did, but Lululemon, you're right. The difference though with Lululemon is Lululemon's been around for 20 years, dude. Like they did that before there were all these other brands creating athletic wear. Before Lululemon,
and they kind of revolutionized it seems like they did, the joggers.
Exactly.
Like they were the first ones with those ABC.
Yeah. But like that's the difference is like,
which I guess means anti-ball crushing.
That's exactly what it means. But at the time,
not to get it mixed up with some kind of alphabet.
Yeah, the acronym.
Yeah.
At the time, like you were getting athletic wear from Nike, Adidas. Like those were the places you were getting athletic wear from. Like so, this athleisure.
Yeah, but again, there was not athleisure at the time.
Exactly. They kind of introduced athleisure.
Yeah, like dudes were just either wearing gym shorts or they were in jeans.
Nike gym shorts or Adidas gym shorts,
yeah.
right?
Like khakis or whatever.
Or Reeboks, I
Yeah.
guess. So that's the difference between them, you know. But like Aloe, speaking of this like world, Aloe, I think a couple months ago they just released a supplements company. Like Aloe is essentially, for those of you guys like that, they're pretty much a Lululemon. Like they
Okay.
jumped into the space trying to be a Lululemon, but maybe like with I actually don't even know how to break that brand down, because like maybe they were like a little bit more of a younger audience.
Right.
Yeah. And then they just entered into the supplement world, you know.
What kind of supplements? Just all of it?
Yeah, like collagens and, you know, those kinds of things. Gel packs, and I don't know anybody Aloe, but all those products like are always discounted. So that's usually a sign of, was this a good idea?
They're desperate to get people to acquire them.
Aloe's an interesting one though, right? Like Cuts clothing, or people going into the like, hey, we started at men's or we started at women's. So Cuts starts men's, goes to women. Another like clothing brand is Athleta for women. They started a company called Hill City for men.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't think that that's under, but it pretty much is under. Like, I think that like 5 years ago, you could buy, like they were doing like Black Friday deals at like 90% off.
Wow.
Just trying to get rid of everything, you know? So like they aren't pushing that at all, but they were pushing that super hardcore. So that's saying, that one is weird because it's saying this: we killed it. We created good athletic wear, athleisure, or good clothing, good apparel for this audience. If we did it for them, we can take the same designs, but tailor it to the opposite sex, and we should be able to build. So like you're completely shifting the audience. I mean, you're essentially creating a whole new audience, right? You're starting, like a lot of brands think that when they do that, they're going to have this massive like push from their current audience to buy this, but oftentimes that does not happen. Okay. On the Aloe side, it's different. The Aloe side, they're still, even though Aloe has menswear stuff too, their main audience is women. So it's not that they're changing their audience. It's still people who are interested in fitness, right? It's still women, but it's supplements. So what is the potential for somebody like them to go wrong if it's the same audience?
Well, because the message is different.
Okay.
And you might think, well, it's health and fitness, and
Right.
supplements fit into a health and fitness regimen.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised that all the way you talk about supplements and why people buy supplements are not the same reason why people are buying your clothes.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. I
and
think
supplements, when you open up another industry, there's always, especially when it comes to product, when you're opening up product into a different, if it's a different sex or if it's a different type of industry, you need to realize that there is an entire set of domain expertise that you do not know.
Totally.
And you're making assumptions based off of what you know.
Yeah.
And then you jump over into it and then you realize, oh man, I didn't realize the supply chain issues of this particular product. I didn't realize that people don't buy this just because they like us as a brand, because they like us as a brand for athleisure. But supplements, for example, might be a whole different can of worms, because people are very particular about supplements, and then other people are not particular at all. They just buy the cheapest. Hey, does it
go to GNC? I need my vitamin E.
Is it
whatever.
healthy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy it.
That was going to be the one I was going to say, right? Is like supplements.
And supplements is one of the toughest industries to be in.
Totally.
From a marketing perspective. It's very competitive because if you do it right, you can make a lot of money. The LTV is very high. From a returning
customer perspective, yeah.
But if it's really hard to break into that.
Yeah.
So are you willing to stomach the pain of breaking into it?
Yeah. Because most people who start a supplement company and who aren't necessarily differentiating themselves, meaning they're not creating these products that haven't ever been created before.
Right.
you're going to always take a loss in the beginning because you win as somebody subscribes to your product or just continues to buy over and over again. Or if you get a big brand who sees value in you and now you're in Costco so that you can always be purchased and whatever, right? Because that was going to be the thing I was going to say is, hey, Aloe, you're great. I love your clothes, but if I'm the type of person whose ethos is health and wellness, right? Like I need my daily collagen, those things, they're looking for more subject matter experts in that space. So there are other people who have come out and, there's 2 brands here in Utah that, I can think of that like crush it in this like supplement space. One's called Just Ingredients and the other one's called Clean Simple Eats. Mm-hmm. There's tons of them we can name. Athletic Greens has been wildly known. They're not in Utah, but you've got these people who like they've introduced themselves as subject matter experts. And so this is why I'm going to buy from them because I know they're getting the cleanest stuff or whatever it might be.
Well, Athletic Greens, I would actually argue, I don't know because we don't know anyone there and we'd love to talk to someone from Athletic Greens if you want to come on the pod.
Please.
But they had a very unique value proposition that wasn't, there was a Texas Superfoods was another one that was doing it kind of on the radio side. They were advertising through radio channels, usually to boomers. But Athletic Greens came in and they really attacked the digital side very strongly. And then obviously podcasts, you hear them on every podcast, right?
Yeah.
They're all over the place talking about, hey, you can get all of your vegetable vitamins and these superfoods in one scoop and you're done.
Yeah, and they targeted younger people, right?
So,
and made it a subscription that you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly.
Right. Had pretty people promoting it all the time.
So they're unique because I don't know if they necessarily provided education or they were subject matter experts, but they went to subject matter experts through podcasts and through influencers. But their value proposition is so simple. Like you don't have to learn about it to say, oh, I get 75 vitamins in one scoop.
I agree with that. And sorry, I'm glad you're saying this because I don't necessarily mean subject matter expert that I trust that you guys are smart and you know what you're talking about. It's more that I just trust that you're going to get me what I need.
Yeah.
That's what I mean more so when I say subject matter. So to me, I look at them and like, hey, I'm going to get all my greens. They're telling me, they probably went and when consulted and did all that kind of stuff. But I think you said,
but Clean Simple Eats is the version where you did have subject matter experts
same with Just Ingredients, right?
Yeah,
very much
that became the faces of their own brand, and then they built on that. But they're interesting because didn't they originally start with like food meal prep, and then they moved into supplements, and then they moved into
they were like meal prep and fitness.
Okay,
and then they moved into that. So that's 2 things. There's a third thing that I can think of with this Aloe going into this space, which is people who, because of the athleisure movement, athleisure meaning like now men and women, especially women, are just wearing yoga pants on the daily and they may not even work out. So a big portion of your audience buys from you probably are not fitness junkies working out an hour a day.
Yeah, because there's a fashion element to it now.
There's a fashion element. So those people like that are not buying collagen. They're not buying greens.
Yeah, I have never bought collagen.
A lot of times. You usually like those things are things now. Collagen or greens have become more of a trendy thing because of what Athletic Greens has done. That like people who don't live as healthy lifestyles are buying that kind of stuff because of the trend and because of the convenience of I don't have to eat salads and get all my vitamins because I can just take a drink every morning and I'm good to go. So I think those are the 3 reasons why Aloe puts themselves in a tough situation is.
Yeah. And just for the record, we're not rooting for anyone to fail.
We definitely are.
We definitely are. Actually, we have bets on it, over unders. Anytime anyone launches a product, we say over under that it succeeds. But it is hard. Because we have seen it completely ruin brands and put them in incredibly tough situations because you have to put in a minimum order for your initial run, and then a lot of people go bigger because they make an assumption, oh, it's like the same thing, right? Like we're selling to men and men buy this, so let's make a new product.
Yep.
But it's all about the message and what you're doing. So I know we've talked about them a few times now, but a good example would probably be Ridge wallets, because they've moved into other product categories recently, but they didn't for a long time, and they grew to be massive just by selling their wallets.
Yep.
And then they moved into watches and rings, and
Yes.
now they did luggage.
Yeah, they're just starting to do luggage, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So the question is, like, are they failing or are they succeeding? But you could say the message is always the same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the difference.
Hey, we have a wallet. It's high quality. It's going to last a lifetime.
Most durable wallet you'll ever wear.
It's a very durable good.
Yep.
This is what it is.
Yep.
Buy it. Like, they're not really trying to fluff it up with a bunch of other things. It's like,
right.
We are the best you can get of this.
Yeah.
So you can move into other hard goods like rings and watches,
luggage.
And I'm not saying that's easy either for them.
Sure. Or that they're going to succeed.
But if you can nail the message and you know what the message is to your audience, it's like, okay, well, men also want watches. We see a trend going up. Maybe this is what they did internally. We see the trend going up. So how do we message this to men? Same thing we did with our wallets. This is the best, highest quality at this price watch.
Yep. This is not, you'll never have to get a new watch. This will last you forever.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the luggage, right? Because I think they've come out actually and shared numbers about their rings and their watches, and they are succeeding. Like, they've come out and said, hey, we've done X amount of revenue. And it's like, oh, wow.
So we're comparing Ridge to Taylor Swift right now.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who's doing it right.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is the message never changed, right?
The message of Ridge has not changed.
Same thing with Taylor Swift, right? It's like, yeah, I went from country to pop, but my message was, hey, girls, you can get through this. Sometimes life sucks, but sometimes it's awesome.
That's the message.
You know, right? Ridge wallets. Same thing here.
Yeah. And
I like that as a good example.
And people forget that message part, it's so easy to start diverting from it.
Totally.
Because you're like, oh, okay, we got to start talking about all these other things. And then your voice becomes split into two. And then you're going to start losing what made your initial audience attracted to you as you're trying to get them plus other people to buy your new product. So that's what's tough.
Ridge is never going to have to stop. They're never talking about high quality durability. Like, that message will never stop.
No.
Right? When Mark said we've seen companies go under, you said one thing. One of the reasons why you said they go under is because,
and we're not going to be talking names, but we know
totally.
Yeah, we know
totally. But like, so there's two reasons why this is going to happen. Number one is what you said earlier, which is, hey, we've invested so much money and time and POs into this, but it's not selling. And so now we need to dip our funds from what was winning over here to pay for it. Now we don't have enough money to grow this business or whatever, right? So there's this like the cost of it. But then there's also the cost of what happens is when you go from activewear to supplements or menswear to womenswear or womenswear to menswear, you're taking your employees' time and efforts that was 100% in women's apparel, and now you're breaking a portion of them off to work on supplements. So as you're trying to build this, it's not like
they probably don't have domain expertise in.
Totally. You just got your team who was working on this when they were growing at a 20% ratio with the entire team, and now you've taken effort and focus away from what was working and what was really winning for you to bring it over here with something that's just not going to potentially work.
Correct.
So I think that's the other reason why it can fail, right? It's this, not only is it this cost of product, and if it doesn't sell, now you're in the hole, and you got to pay for all these POs. But 2 is you just lose the amount of manpower when you try to introduce something else that is a different message.
Yeah, I think what I'll add to that is going back to marketing, it's in your voice and your message. It always feels like you can always start expanding that voice and that message. And I think the word of caution is you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
About expanding and trying to say different kinds of things. Like going back to Matt Rife, it probably is not going to be great for him. I mean, and it depends on what he wants too, by the way. Maybe he doesn't care about the money and he just wants to have and express himself in his own way. That's, it's kind of different with art, right? So it's hard to say what the motives are.
Sure.
But if you're a business, it's really tough to say, actually, I'm still going to go do that stuff, but this is for the other guys now. Yeah. This is for this other people.
Yep.
If you do that, you'd be surprised how quickly you can alienate an audience and not resonate with them anymore.
Yeah.
And once you do, I mean, what's the saying? Like you can break trust in a day, but it takes years to build it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other reason what we've seen, like, once again, we won't name companies, but we've worked with companies and we've seen companies who ignored their audience or tried to change it and then tried to come back to it. And it's just not the same. I'm sure the quicker
it's like
you can figure
getting
it
back
out,
with your ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I could.
Sometimes it's just never the same as it was the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, people move on quick. That's probably really what it is. Meaning, like, they're just like, there's a lot of guys and girls out in the sea. If you break up with somebody, they're going to move on really, really quick. And you want to go back to them. Like, guys and girls are dime a dozen, right? Businesses are a dime a dozen. So you alienate your audience, they're going to go find a new comedian.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what we're saying here is there's a lot of definitions of what a brand is and what a brand isn't. But maybe the most important definition of what a brand is that you don't have a brand until you have trust. Right? Your brand is built on trust because people expect a certain kind of experience or product from you.
Totally.
And then when you alter that, you just have to be very careful because you can break that trust.
Yep.
Very quickly. And once the trust is broken, people don't, like you said, people will move on very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And we're not going to dive into it, but there's some great examples of people moving on from brands very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
All
Hope everyone has a great Black Friday and they get some rest.
Yeah. Well, you'll be listening to this after all that. So
hope you guys got some rest.
Hopefully you got some rest. You got some good Christmas presents. And you're going to have a good holiday season. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.